Hello and good evening. We are live in the Sew with Trisha group. So I have my handy phone with me because no doubt I won't be able to see any comments at all. So no, we don't want that. Let's just have a look. Here we go. Let's see if I'm live in the group. I am. And I can see, oh yes, I can see on here now. There are some people watching. So let's see what's going to happen tonight. Yes, right. So, comments immediately. Hello Val, hello Christine. I thought I'll get straight on with the demo because what I'm intending to do tonight, I'm going to make, here we are, I'm going to make this on a small version so that I can go right through to the binding and finishing off. That is my plan. Hello Diane, hello Alison, probably missed some people there. Hello Jill, hello Shirley, thank you Jill for all you do. Hello Sue, hello, oh I said Christine didn't I? That's right. So, hello Chris, hello Maureen, hello Sandra, hello Janet. Yes, I'm quite well, not 100% yet. I feel better. Hello, Barbara. Lovely to see you. This might be your very first live in the group. Welcome. We have a lovely time, I must admit. Hello, Sue. Hello, Heather. Just replied to your email, Heather. Hello, Lorraine. If you have a look. Hello, Amanda. Oh, you're just watching the new threads. I know. I got to a stage where... Hello, Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay, my lovely. My rock. You really are. Hello, Gita. Hello, Pamela. I've got to the stage where I've got about 5 orders outstanding, but I need Schmetz needles. They were out of stock. They should be with me tomorrow. I'm getting very low on... hello, Catherine. Hello, Carol. Oh, you're welcome. Absolutely lovely. Really lovely. Hello, Mary. Oh, yes, we're making that bag, aren't we? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Evening, Jill. Hello, John. Yeah. What was I going to say? Hello, Vanessa. Catch up tomorrow, definitely will. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Meg. Yeah, the Orifil flock. I thought I would show you the big set because I bought a few of those. I shan't split them all up because I know one of you, I know one of you will say, I want it. I haven't worked prices out yet. But as you know, in the group, you will have discount. So, what I was going to say, the Orifil floss has come in, and I did buy some extra sets. Hello, Pat. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Heather. Hello, Anne. Hello, Leslie. It's horrid here as well. It is, let alone Canvey Island. Hello, Ginny. Hello, Elaine. Hello, Janet. Janet says hello to all the Trishettes. Lovely. Yes, so I had some more fabric come through. So I got a restock of the lozenge. You know those lovely canvases I had the other week? Absolutely lovely. Right. Absolutely lovely. So I've got that. I've got some new designs in it as well, but they won't be coming to you just yet. No, I haven't even unwrapped them. Hello, Liz, and hello, Leslie. Jolly good, jolly good. So so that's come through. Got some new stuff fabric, which I haven't unwrapped that yet because that's come through. Hello, Sue, and hello, Beverly. Jill needs to watch the floss. Was busy talking. Yeah. Oh, I didn't go through every single one, but I just showed you those beautiful colours. So I've got sets. There were sets of 10. I've also got some K facets sets. Well, they're Cantha sets, so they're the 12 weight. So they're like an embroidery one, but they're not quite as thick as the floss. So yes, Caroline, that lozenge fabric sold out completely. Sold out completely. So I have got some more. I have got that lozenge in a smaller scale as well. Hello, Mira. Hello, Aurora. Now, we're going to have a word with the Swifts because, yes, Mira and Kathy, I've got you totally muddled. Lindsay and I were having a chatter. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I I wish everybody would have different names, completely different names, but we've got quite a few Swifts. Hello Sue, hello Linda, hello Bridget. Hola todas mi amigos. Oh, Bridget's in Spain, lucky girl. Oh, happy birthday, Leslie. And hello, Carolyn. Carolyn, I've got to get that love note. Leslie, I've got to get your order sorted as well. So apart from the other 5, I've got those 2 as well. But I have been, honestly, I've been working. It's all right, Mira, not your fault at all. I'm going to have to get all those sorted. It won't be tomorrow morning. It'll be Thursday now because I've got all the cutting of the kits for the workshop tomorrow. So, yes, there's that. Good evening, Glynis. Hello, Linda. So, and hello, Jean. So, I've got a lot more sent out today. The other thing, as I told you, I'm having to go to the post office because Martin can hardly walk. So, it's all taking, hello, Tony, that little bit longer for everything. But I've got as far as I can with that. Oh, Sue's birthday as well. Happy birthday, Sue. Hello, Sheila. So I really am going as fast as I can. I also miss seeing my dad today. But sometimes, hello Angela, hello Barbara. Sometimes I've just, you know, I knew my mum was going, I knew my brother was going. So we'd have some company for a period of time. Hello Jenny. Hi everyone watching, she says. So yeah, it's all, and I thought I was slowing down a little bit. No way. Hello Jane. Bridget wanted a Kit Kat. I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to respond down there. And Moya wants one as well, so I will do that as well. So if anybody else, I haven't put it apart from, where did I put it? Oh, I put it in the workshop group. That's right. If anybody would like, oh, that's loves. Hello, Marion and Janet. Get well soon. And but yeah, I know exactly. Probably arthritis, hip-related arthritis, he's been told. So, never mind. We can get him sorted. Hello, Elaine. Oh, thank you, Tony. I do have pressures. As I say, I didn't have the grandchildren today, so I knew that I could perhaps have the whole day and get ready for this, because also, apart from having made that, I needed to get the other colour option here ready to demo with, because it always seems silly to make 2. Hello, Marilyn. 2 identical, so I thought we'll do a second colour option, and this one, hello Deborah and hello Marilyn. Marilyn, is it Marilyn? Do you still want your Thrifty Thursday purchases? I've got 3 or 4 people that haven't paid yet for Thrifty Thursday, which I've got holding out, but I need to check in case it's come through and I haven't seen it. But if you have a look at that as well, I'm sure your name was one. Sue was another, I think. So, hello, Wendy. Yeah, so, yeah, that's got that bit out of the way. I shall also have some metal zips. I've got a stash of those now, and they are beautiful. So, yes, if anybody wants the cosmetic bag kit, I've put it in the workshop group. It is £30 and posted, so free postage within that. Because I've got the fabric in, so we can do that now. So that is, oh, I was running low on fusible fleece. Hello Wendy, hello Joanna. I didn't have any, I've just got some more in, so I shall bring that to you shortly. Hello Janet, or you can email me if you want to, that might be an idea, and make your payment in your normal way. Hello Janet, Marilyn, you paid for it. Okay, I will look, Marilyn, it's probably me. Was looking for vinyl on your website. Caroline, I haven't popped it on the website, I'm afraid. Oh, I have. Yeah, it is on the website. Yeah, it's one of the things I have got on the website, I'm sure. If you just put search for vinyl, it should come up. I'm sure I did. Yes, I know I did put it on there, yeah. Don't know what lozenge fabric is. Oh, I haven't got anything up here, have I? Have a look back, Catherine, on Thrifty Thursday, not from last week, I think the week before, and you'll see it on there. I might have. No, have I? Let me look over. No, that's William. No, I haven't got any lozenge up here to be able to show you. It is lovely. I must admit, it is really lovely. Is the cotton? No, it's not on the website. Only because it was this month's bag of the month, so it will go on in April. But if you wanted to email me for one, absolutely fine. Hello, Lynn. No chance of saying at the minute, no, but yours has come out. I remember it going today. It's in haberdashery. Yeah, I tell you what I usually do, I do put it in, when you're wanting something, just have a think where it might be. If it's fabrics, it's kits, under kits. Haberdashery, I put lots of different things under haberdashery. Vinyl probably shouldn't be under haberdashery, it should be under fabrics. But if you use the search, and it's usually, what it is on my devices, hello Kirsten, it's a little like magnifying glass. Could be anywhere, because on the computer, mine is so small, just above, your easiest way to do bunting. Marilyn, there is a video of that. Can't show you tonight because we have got lots to do, but I'm sure I could another day, purely because we have a big event coming up this year, don't we? As in the coronation. So I haven't actually bought any fabrics to promote, to sell for. I could perhaps sort a few bits and pieces out, but perhaps I'm not a businesswoman, but I, when there's, I did for the Jubilee, I had a little bit of Liberty fabric, didn't I? But that was for any time as well. So I'm not going into, oh, lovely. There you are, Marilyn. Watch out on Thursday, because I'm not doing a live, but the bunting will be on there. Fabulous, Lindsay. You are such a gem. Hello, Patricia. Lovely to see you tonight. So, yes, I think that is about it. I think what we'll do, shall we get on? We've got quite a few people watching. And, of course, if you're not here already, well, you know you're here. But those that aren't here can always watch it after the event. I have put, yes, that was what I was going to say. I have put kits on the website. And I'm a little bit premature, but they are at $19.99 because this is a bit larger than the others, which I've kept them all at $17.99. So what I've done, and you had free postage previously, I've put them on the website, but please, you did, that's gone out soon. Sue, while I think, I hadn't got any Deckerville light, but I'm getting some tomorrow. But I haven't put it in your parcel, I should have waited, but I wanted your parcel to go off. So all three of your orders are together in one parcel, and I will send out the Deckerville light tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, Thursday. Okay? So, yeah, that's great, isn't it? Yes, Marion. So, yes, the kits are on the website, but please, please look at the post in the group. There is a code, and the code, I think, is Tulip 25, which gives you a 25% discount. It gives you £5 off because there's postage, so it will bring it up to the same price as I've done them previously when I did free postage. So I think it's a little bit less, actually, £17.94. But don't forget to put the code in if you want either the blue option or the pink. And it will be the size of the big one, with 6 tulips or 6 pink tulips, 6 blue or 6 pink. Hello, Jackie. So, yes, but don't forget the code. And don't share the code, please. What's in the kit? Everything to make it, Catherine. So you will have everything. You will have the backing fabric. You'll have the binding fabric. You'll have all the background, as in the cream. You'll have all the squares here cut for you. All the little squares here. All the squares for doing your leaves and your stem. And everything. Plus the instruction pack printed off. Okay, so let us have a look as to what we will need. Oh, I've got it all here. So I've got one made already. And tonight what I'm going to do, I'm going to make 2. Oh, lovely, Jeeta. Lovely. And you've got your bag handles this morning. Right, that's good. I didn't do bag handles, I don't think, but never mind. yes, so this is what we're going to make. So I've got one made already, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this into a little runner, so that it's like a little long runner, so that I can put the backing fabric on. I can do a mini bit of quilting, but you can do as much as you like. I did vermicelli in here. I didn't particularly like it. Let's just have a look. Oops, there we go. Let's bring you in a little bit closer. But I haven't done vermicelli in ages, or stipple quilting. This all in between, so all in the gaps. And then I just did 1/4 inch, or 1/8 of an inch actually, to each side of these long pieces here. Oh, thank you, Janet. Fabulous. Lovely. That's it. So Janet's kindly put the link up to, so this is what we're going to make. And we're going to put 2 of these together and make a long runner. Oh, thank you, Sharon. Sharon, I need to send your parcel out. That's under the table, yes. So what I was going to say, I don't know if you can see that. Well, I'm sure you can. Oh, thank you, Jill. Did you use your new machine? No, I didn't. I used, I used the Bonina. And to be honest, I wasn't happy. I've got to have a little play. I wasn't happy. I should have used my Juki, because that is specifically for. But never mind. Thank you, Wendy. So what you'll see, the tulips are slightly staggered. And how we do that is, once we've made our block like this, so your block, whoops, wrong way, that will be your block. So the flower head at the top and the leaves at the bottom. But what you'll see here on the alternate, so the left side and the right, we've put a little strip of fabric along the bottom, and then along the bottom of this next one up here. Let's just look up there, that's it. So we'll put a strip at the bottom and a strip at the bottom to join that column. Then this one, we put a strip at the top of the bottom one and the top here. And then the right hand side, there is a strip at the bottom of that one and the bottom of that one. That way we've got the tulips up and down, just to give it a little bit of, yeah, just to make it a little bit different rather than being totally straight. Now the one I'm going to do here, I'm going to do them, well, the runner will be sideways on, but I'm just going to put a strip in between the two, and I'm actually going to put them so that they face outwards. So one faces that way and one faces the other way. Anyhow, so I just wanted to point those out. So when you're making the full one, these strips, it's all in the instructions, but the strips are at the bottom of this side, so the bottom of that block and the bottom of this block, whoops, the bottom of this block and the bottom of this one. Then the next column, it's the top of this one and the top of this one, and then the right hand side has got a strip at the bottom and the bottom. And that's what, and then they will all level up, they'll all line up so that it gives you a rectangular shape. It's about 20 by 18, something like that. So you've got vertical strips, you've got strips to join the three rather, and then a strip at the outside, so you'll do those, and then the ones at the top and the bottom. Then you'll quilt it, then you'll put the binding on. So, shall I show you? Oh, don't worry, Joanne. Joanne, while I remember, your parcel came out in 2 because it was very, very bulky with all that wadding. So I've split it in 2. No, it hasn't saved me postage, but it would have been too big and it would have cost a fortune. So do look out. I've put on the back, when I send your package in 2 parcels, on the label on the back, I put 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. So if you think, oh, if they might come at different times, and when you get one, you think, oh, she's forgotten to put such and such in. But if you have a look, if it says 1 of 2, and you've only got the 1 of 2, or you might have the 2 of 2 first, you know there's another one to come. Okay, you're welcome. Right, what was that? Same here. Love the quilting. It's your next have a go. Oh, yes, no, you have a go. Right, let's... Oh, I've had my light on, haven't I? Down, 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 down. Okay, that's lovely. Right, so let us begin. Whoops. There we go. So up a little bit first. Right, this is what we're going to make. So what we're going to need, I've got my little bits cut here, is 4 squares. So we'll do the tulip piece first. And what I suggest is that you lay them out in a set of 4, like so. And what we need as well, we need the little, so to make the tulip, give it its shape, that doesn't look like a tulip at the minute, but we need, and this is very easy snowballing technique, the smaller of your background squares go into the centre and line up there, right sides together. So if your background is a patterned fabric, you need to pop it right side down, and then, sorry, nearly put that in the wrong place, the bigger squares go at the bottom. So I think these were, yeah, so it's all in the instructions. So we line the raw edges up at the sides. Let's do that like that, that's better. So that's it. So the bottom ones have the bigger squares, and the top ones, and so they're at the outside, the top ones go at the centre. So what we're making is that formation there. So now what we, there's only one way to actually do these. So for snowballing, and you will know if it's the wrong way, because you'll end up with your stitching. If you go from the corner to that point, it's right in the middle, it's ending nowhere. So you know you have to go from side to side. So if you want to draw a line, you are more than welcome to. They are nice little squares, so it might be an opportunity to actually just give it a go at eyeballing it. So let's see, so one goes one way and the other, whoops, let's just put that on there like that, okay. So, and you'll know that you can only do it one way and the other because you're going from one side edge to the other side edge. As I say, if you go from corner inwards, you're left in the middle of nowhere, so you know that's wrong. So it's always from corner to corner, I mean not corner, it's going from the edge to another edge, so one edge to another edge, and you're going to stitch on the line. And here we're going to do exactly the same from one long edge to another, so across there and across here. So although they're going in opposite directions, that way and that way, you know what is right. Now a little thing, when we're chain piecing, I like to chain piece, I like to not have to cut threads. So when you're popping these together, if you've got them in front of you, if you take one first of all, and it doesn't matter if you move them around because they'll only go back in one place. The other thing I should say, when I put my blocks together, I look at the colour hue. So to my mind, these two are darker, this one is in the middle, and that one's lighter because there's a lot of cream in that background. So I've alternated them. Rather than having dark, dark, light, light, I've got opposite, diagonally opposite darks, and then a light and a light. So doesn't matter, but I just think it adds to the effect and distributes the colour hues across your quilt. So let's take this one first of all and make sure we line that up accurately in the corner so those raw edges are all aligned, and we will put under the foot, and I am going to, let's just see there, that's it. So I'm just going to stitch from that corner and come right off at that corner as well. I think my eyes are better than the actual line I've drawn. Now when you take the next one, if you do it that way, it sits nicely. If you do it from the other side, can you see how the fabric overlaps here? And you can't always get that in nicely and quite close to the needle. So if you turn it the other way, then they butt up and you can almost go straight onto, without stitching in midair, you can almost go straight onto the next one. Okay, so I've gone across that diagonal. Now if I take the next one here, again, I haven't drawn a line, but I'm going from one long edge to the other. And if we, no, let's do it this way, that's it. If I turn it that way, can you see how that way, not too bad, but if I turn it this way, they are, the long edges are lining up with each other, and I can stitch much more easily. There we are, we'll go straight across there. And then I'm going to take this one, which is going from a long edge to a long edge. So if I do it this way, it just goes straight next to where I stopped stitching. So just hold that on, pop pins on there if you don't feel that it's going to remain stable while you're stitching. But as I say, they're nice and small. And then we're just going to snip that apart, and that one as well. Now I'm just going to pop my iron on. I don't think I've got me plugged in here. So let's just plug me in. Whoops, I do like to work with a bit of steam actually, but we'll work with the little prim iron. So all I'm going to do now, we've snowboard, so I'm going to trim away from. So the little edge, that little triangle, like so, and like so. So I've trimmed those all off. Now, what I do like to do, normally with a snowboard block, we would just flip it back like that and reform our square. But when it's a small piece like this, I like to let that seam go underneath. So I like the seam to go under there so that it is the other. And I find I get a better square formation because that seam is tucked backwards. It's under the darker fabric anyway, but I prefer it that way. So let me just get my pressing mat, got all its bits of fabric on there, and pop those on there. And then all we will do is, what I do to be able to do that, I pick up my piece and I lay it down so that I actually press away. If you just hold that like so, and then that gives me a good square, and my seam is going away from me. So again here, if you press it like so, so that you're holding on to that small area, and you can hold it with your finger, like, and then just iron along that seam. Now it is on the bias, so you don't want to waver about. So again here, if we hold the cream like so, so that when we flip that back, usually we flip the small part back, but flip that back, just finger press that open, and then just a little press along that seam, and you see how nicely that works. So again, I've picked my block up, put the little piece down on the table, on the mat rather, finger press that down so that the seam is underneath, and then you can just iron along that seam, and you've got a pretty good square there. So they are all nicely, let's just get those there, they are all nice squares just like they were originally. So now it is fairly easy. These will only go in one place. So that one went at the top there. It's the smaller of the blocks, or smaller of the snowball bits. And, you know, that is wrong if it's there because that doesn't look like a flower. But if we turn that around so that our cream pieces are there, there is your tulip. So that we don't get them in the wrong place, what we're going to do now is my usual technique of sewing a block together. Quite often we've got far more pieces than this, but we've put it back to how it was, and then we're going to take the top two right sides together, line those up perfectly, and what you should notice is those two seams there are absolutely on top of each other to give us that perfect intersection. So I'm just going to hold that down, just line that up perfectly, and hold my fingers at the bottom as well, because I want that to line up beautifully. because this, if you line it up beautifully, this is what gives you your perfect joins and seams where they intersect. So this one is going right sides together. This time we have got no joins, no points to match. So we're just going to line that up perfectly. When it's on, just make sure that lines up as well. So that's all lined up. We're doing this one across here. So we just pop that straight underneath, and we haven't cut the thread. We're just carrying on stitching. So if you want to have your 1/4 inch patchwork foot on, absolutely fine. So can you see how they are joined? They're going nowhere. So we'll just open this top one up first of all, like so. And, oh, just how I want it to be. That matches there perfectly, just how we wanted it to be, just there. So you can see the seam here is going to my right. So if we just finger press or nail press that down, and then the bottom one, we want this seam to go that way. So if we just turn that over, you can then see that that seam there is going to this side. This seam is here. So we'll open this block up and we can finger press along there. You can press it with your iron if you want to, but it's just as easy to pop that like that. Now they're in the right places. You can see your snowballing is on the bottom, in the bottom corners. Your snowballing at the top is together at the top. So we'll then put them right sides together. Those seams will nest perfectly and your fabric will line up perfectly there. So finger down again, I'm just holding it. Pin if you like, but if you've got your finger down on there and holding that tight, it's not lined up here, so I will make sure it is lined up there. There we are, so finger on that end as well. So I've got my finger where the seams come together, and then my finger at the end here, just holding that nicely down. And then when we open it up, hopefully, yeah. So there we have perfect intersection there, perfect point there, and these have got no points to need to meet anything anyway. So before I do anything more, I am going to press that because it is always good. So from the back, we didn't press these, we nail press them, didn't we? So we'll give that a press that way. We will give this one, just give it a little tug, or just tension it so that that is nicely done. And then from the front, we can just press that out. There we are. So now that looks just perfect. Just how we wanted it to be. So we've got our top part done. What we need to do now are these pieces. So I have, using our ruler, using our easy half square triangle rulers, we need 2 squares which I've already placed right sides together. So a cream one with your leaf fabric, and I've drawn a diagonal line. So I've got 2 of those because this pair of squares will give me 2 half square triangles, and this one will as well, which will give me 4 in total, which is what I need. So with this one, I am going to stitch 1/4 inch to each side of the, there we go, to each side. Just make sure that is in exactly the right place. And we will stitch down there. And then, now this is where you see I have to stitch in mid-air because, and I'm just lining that up just so that I can carry on stitching and keeping my foot in line with that line that I've drawn. So now what I like to do, rather than cut the thread, lift the presser foot, pull the thread, so I've got a bit of thread there, and flip it around. Could be lazy, or I just like doing that. So again, get that in just the right place and start stitching down 1/4 inch to the side of that drawn line, but on the other side. Now if you go nice and slowly in between, it doesn't mind a few stitches in mid-air. It's not the perfect thing to do, but if you go fast, it will break the thread. Okay, so I have stitched my 2 half square triangle pieces. I am then going to cut along the drawn line, and the same with this one, cut along the drawn line. Now I know many of you have got half square triangle rulers, and on this occasion you need the half one. We need the 2.5. So let's leave our squares, our half square triangles as they are, because we're going to do our trimming first of all. So it might be better if I do it on the dark side. Okay, because what we're going to do is line up that 2.5 with our stitched line. Okay, this is why it doesn't matter if you don't cut exactly on the drawn line, but you want the 2.5, that stitched line, that dashed line on the ruler, to line up with your stitching that you've done there. And we'll just move that across just so that I can trim. So all I'm going to do is trim up this side and trim down this side. That's it. I have moved my feet, and then I move my finger out of the way so that I can go inside out in those little slots, close my blade, take away those little bits of the, and there will be my perfect 2.5-inch square in a moment. Actually, I'll do it on this side because perhaps that's easier. So again, I'm lining up the 2.5 on that dashed line onto my triangle, and I'll go round this side. So I am actually turning away, and then I'm going to go in there and in there. I haven't even got my small. I do prefer to use my 28mm blade, but it will work with your 45. Probably wouldn't try with the biggest rotary cutter, which is the 60mm one. I'm just lining my dashed line. Press down on your ruler so it doesn't slip, and then around there. And so I move my fingers out of the way just so that I can get my blade upright. Did I cut that? I did. Well, not quite. So just cut that across there. So there is my next one. And here, I'll do that this side just in case you couldn't see very well. That's it, there we go. So the 2.5 dash line on the dash, and then we will go trim and trim. So I'm moving my board around. If you want to go from the inside, sorry, where are we? There we go. If you want to go from the outside in, you can, but you do have to move your mat around a little bit more. No, I've missed that. I know that's about there. Okay, so that has got 1, 2, 3, 4 of our little half square triangles ready made. So now all we need to do is open them out. So we will get our mat once again. So remember, if we want the dark fabric on the top, we do want the dark fabric on the top, because that is going to mean that the seam goes to the dark side. So the dark fabric on the top, we are going to just press it open, and then the seam is under the dark fabric. So set the seam, open up and press away. So I press into the middle and away, and I've got a perfect square there. So again, set the seam, lift the fabric and press along. That's it. That way your seam is fully opened and you won't get a odd shaped square. Press into the middle. I use my fingers to just push it to the side. So open up, so into the middle, push my fingers to just open that out so that I can move that just along the seam without going backwards and forwards. So now I have 4 identical, let's just pop them on top of each other just to show you, absolutely identical 2.5-inch squares. Okay, so let's get those there now. So again, we're going to lay them out. So we need our triangles to be, we want them to join in a little bit different way. So there, can you see, by placing them there, and then these ones go in the opposite way. Can you see there, you've got 2 leaves, one going one way. So it's just a strange way. Quite often we have our, we have a pinwheel, don't we? So we might have a pinwheel like that, or we have them all coming into the centre, but we want them to basically join so that they're like a diamond, and so a diamond facing in different directions. So this time, you know, previously we put this one right sides together, the 2 top ones. This time, because we need to make a stem in the middle, we are going to join vertically. So we're going to press that, put that one right sides together and stitch across here. I'm just going to move that across there. So again, line those up perfectly. So what I do is I get my stitch, my first stitch in, just to hold that in place. Okay, so that started off, and then I'm making sure that down here it also lines up. It can become, when you press, can become a little bit distorted, so just pull that into line and stitch down there. And then again with this other one, I'm going to flip it, the top onto the bottom, and stitch across here. So again, just line those up perfectly into that square there, and get that first, see, I want that to be straight across there, get that first one in place like so, and line that up at the bottom there, making sure the edge of my foot is going along with the edge of the fabric. And then we'll just clip these apart, because this one we don't pop into 4, so we do clip it apart. Make sure we've got our triangle. There we go. I'm just finger pressing that across there, or nail pressing. And then this one also should join so that it's that elongated diamond shape. And again, oh no, I've put them. If you try and get your seams, one going one way, one the other, they're not for, they do nest actually, but not for that perfect joint, because the joint's going to be hidden. So now that we've got our 2 leaves pointing in opposite directions, we're going to take our strip of fabric. Now it will be exactly the right length to fit here. So having cut it the exact right length, you make this fit. It could be your seams perhaps a little bit too long or too short, but make it fit, because this is what is important, this length here. So we're going to fold it in half. We're not going to press it, but you can finger press just so that those raw edges align, but you're doing it wrong sides together so that your right side is showing. And then I'm going to place this at the top and line that up. So I am, on this occasion, I'm going to put a pin in there, because I want that to line up, and I want it to line up at the bottom. So I've got my other one, my other piece here, and I'm going to put that right sides together onto the strip that we've just popped there. So we'll also line that up, just line that up perfectly, and just push that out of the way. And then I'm just going to put my other pin, or the pin, take the pin out and put it back in. Don't worry about this at the minute, because we can fold that as we go. But if you would like to pin it the whole way down, entirely up to you. So what I'll do is I'm getting that in the right place, do that first little bit of stitching so it's anchored, and then I'm going to fold this at the bottom, fold that so it matches perfectly, and pull that down so that the patchwork block also fits perfectly. So that's lining up down here. Then I can bring this bit down and put that on the top and make that line up perfectly. So I've got my finger holding that down, and then if we just pull that so that I can see right down this edge here, all those bits of fabric, all those raw edges line up, and then I'm pressing my finger down onto that seam because it's facing the other way. I don't want it to spring up, so I'm just holding that down and holding that down, and we'll go down with our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so that is what we have. We have this little bit sticking up here. But the first thing we're going to do, so if your points didn't match here, it's going to be hidden like that anyway. But the first thing we need to do is flip it to the wrong side, and this is one of the rare occasions I'm going to open this seam out. So we can just finger press here. So just open this seam, because otherwise it will be very bulky on one side. So just open that out, like so. Just run your finger down there. I really need to get some of those rollers. Okay, so having opened that out, we'll get our mat back in. And I do just like to give that a little press on that side. You can avoid that bit if you want to and just flip it to the other side. But let's just give that a little press. So I'm only doing it lightly just to make those seams stay open. I can press this because we only finger pressed these ones before, didn't we? So let's just press those ones at the outside. Then flip it over. So feeling that that seam is open there. And then we want to press this flat. So if you want to, what have we got? We've got a pen here. No, it's too big. A seam ripper. If you want to pop something in here, or a knitting needle, say, just to open that out, squash it so that it's halfway. So again here, we've squashed that so it's halfway, and then we press. So once you know, so I'll press this bottom end first. There we are. And just make sure that that is pressed so it's halfway across there. Flip it around this way. Make sure those seams are still pressed open, and then we can flatten that as well. Actually, that looks just slightly narrower, but that won't notice because that's going to go in a seam as well. So we're just going to press that nice and flat too. So there we have our leaves and stem. Right, leaves and stem. So we have nearly finished. Now where is, oh, here it is. So we have the stem, we have the flower head, and all we're going to do now is join the two together. So right sides together, and that should line up perfectly across there, and we're going to stitch across. So again, if you line that one up perfectly to begin with, and anchor, so start stitching and just anchor there. We've got no seams that need to meet with anything. These just, that seam there should be halfway across your stem, but otherwise I just pull this to that side to make sure that piece lines up perfectly as well. It might be fractionally out, but as far as I'm concerned, that is lined up. So we'll go across here. Just make sure, you see that seam is there. Make sure the seam doesn't flip up. And then we're across there. So we'll give that one a little press also. So now we can open that up, and we've got our tulip head joined. So again, what I would do, the seam is under there. I'm just going to press from the top and just press that open so that we don't press any pleats. So just give it a little pull there, just so it's taut. And there we have our second tulip. Okay, so one tulip and two tulips. So as I say, what I'm going to do, you could have them side by side as a nice little placemat. You could pop them one up, one down. That also looks quite cool. But I'm going to put them side by side. So I'm going to face them so that one is going one way. Can you see there? I'm going to have one going one way and one pointing the other. So the other bits we need, let's just have a look, is a strip that is the same length. Right, so we want a strip that is the same length as across there. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to add this strip to here. So I'm going to put the right sides together. So again, if your background fabric is just slightly longer, but that should be a certain length. If you are using patterned fabric, make sure this is right sides together. So I've lined that up at that edge, and we'll just pop that. Oops, no, let's start stitching first. So do a few stitches just to anchor it, and then pull your fabric so that that fits. Okay, so we've stitched across there and cut, and then we're going to open that out. We can just finger press that for the time being, and then we're going to take the other one and we're going to pop that right sides together. So again, just line the side that's going under the needle first of all, and anchor that down, because I can see I haven't lined that up properly. So I will then lift that and I will align this corner. There we go. And just make sure those raw edges are all aligned as we go across here. And straight down to the bottom. Okay, so there we have it joined. Now I'm actually going to, those seams I would normally face outwards, but I'm going to have them both going in towards the centre, because it will accentuate when I do a little bit of quilting. We'll actually be stitching those seams down. So I might just give that a little press first of all, because I do like it to be, to look nicely pressed, because it always gives a better finish in the end if you do press as you go. So you can see already how much better that looks just by giving that little press. Okay, so as I say, it is quite narrow, but the next thing we're going to do is to add a border along the sides. So we cut these, and hopefully I've cut the right length. No, I've cut it wrongly. Never mind, I should just trim that down. But what you, in the instructions, it will tell you how long to cut them. What you must always do, whether you're doing a quilt or something as small as this, always have your two pieces exactly the same length. So I can see that is going to fit, let's see there, and there. So I'm going to trim off. As I say, this is just slightly different to what the pattern will be. So that bit that I've trimmed off there, off of that one, I'm going to trim exactly the same off of this one, because I want them to be exactly the same length. That way we are always going to have a rectangle that is not a squiffy one. So I've cut those two pieces off. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add one strip to each long edge. Now what I would do here is, especially when you're using long edges, fold your strip in half and give that a little nick that side, a little press, and we want it to go exactly in half there. So we could fold that and find the halfway, but I'm just going to gauge it, and I can see where that little crease is, but I'm going to put that in the center and definitely pop a pin there, because if it is a little bit too long, you can ease any extra or any shortage in each side, rather than stitch the whole way down and you haven't got enough strip to go the whole way down, or you've got far too much. So by putting a center point, if it's longer, I would even put quarter points as well. But by doing this, if we then align that edge at the top there, in actual fact that looks just slightly, I'm just going to trim that a tiny bit. Okay, so we'll align that with the top and we'll start stitching. And then what I do, I just give that a gentle make it taut. I always say I'm making it taut. And so that I'm just holding that so it's exactly the right fit to this side. And then when I get to the pin, I'm going to take that pin out. And then I'm going to align this bottom edge with the bottom corner here. And then again, I'm just going to give that a little pull just to make that nice and taut. I can see that fits perfectly. And that way, we're not going to have your edge strip or your sashing. It's not going to be too short or too long. It will always fit perfectly. So we're going to do exactly the same to the other side. So we'll swivel that round and we'll get our next strip, which I put here. And we'll fold that in half too. And we'll give that a little crease there. And then again, we will find the center point here. And I can see that is there. So we'll put a pin in that center point. And then starting at this end here, I'm going to line up the end with my fabric. Make sure that is perfectly aligned. Do just a couple of stitches, as I say, just to anchor that. So I've just anchored the fabric. Then just pull that and line up. Just by pulling it, you can then move your patchwork piece to the side and see that they're all totally aligned. The raw edges are lined up perfectly. No bulges, no pleats, no excess there at all. We will get down to where the pin is. And then again at this end, I'm going to take that piece and line it up perfectly with the bottom of my fabric there. And just give that a little pull. I can see at the minute that's not lined up. So we just pull that over. And now I can see all those fabrics are perfectly lined up. So I would do this whether I'm making a king size quilt or a mug rug or this little runner. Okay, so we're going to get our pressing mat out again, because the next step I would do definitely every time. I have my, here are my strips, but I'm going to just set the seam along here. And then I'm just going to push that back. And this is where I do the swirling motion. Okay, like that. Just pushing all those seams out. So I've got all of this. There's no pleating in there at all. And then we'll do the same the other side. Just set that seam. And then push that back. Okay, and when you think about it, the seam allowance is under my cream sashing as well, or the edge strips, the borders. So just, that's it. So already that's looking nice and neat because we've pressed it. So next one is, and this is the same order as for the bigger mini quilt. We did the long edges and now we're going to do the top and the bottom. So let's see if I've cut this right. Cut that one wrong as well. I was having a guessing time. Okay, so let's just see. I don't think I've done that wrongly. Oh no, perhaps that's right. No, that is right. That is right. Okay. So again, that does fit in this size that I have got. So I'm just lining that very edge there. So we're doing top and bottom. And again, anchor the stitch first. Get your piece of your top and bottom. Just line that up. Give that a little pull, because that will make sure that that is aligned absolutely perfectly. So now we've done our top edge, and these two pieces were exactly the same size, which again means that this rectangle is not going to be a squiffy rectangle. So I've lined that piece up in that corner. I'm going to anchor those stitches so that I can now line this other side here perfectly. Just give that a little pull so that lines up perfectly. Now the thing is, when you have got the seams, like we did our snowballing, this is where it can perhaps distort a little bit. So here, where we did these, we've got these seams here, these diagonal ones. That's when it can make it just look a little bit of the wrong size. But because the pressing may not be that the pressing has pressed it out completely, but we will do exactly the same again here, and that means that this will be a true rectangle. So it's going to be the same length sides and the same length of top. So we'll just set that seam, those stitches will just sink into the seam, and that is just beautiful. Okay, next thing. So next thing is where we get our wadding. So perhaps we'll pop this on here. So I've got my piece of wadding. Let's just take that back a little bit because it is fairly long. So we've got our wadding, and we are going to pop our, made sure I got plenty. So I've popped the, bought the little mat onto my wadding. It's a little bit big, so I'm just going to trim that. I've got the wadding bigger than the patchwork, and I always would do that. And the same as I would always have the backing fabric longer than the patchwork. Now, I haven't got any 505 spray up here. So, what are we going to do? I'm going to fall off my chair. No, I haven't got any up here, but never mind. So, because I've got Thermolam I'm using, and that does stick to it pretty nicely. So, having done that, take all your little pieces off the back, any bits of thread, you don't want them showing through. Then I'm going to get my backing fabric and place that on the top too. So just make sure, if your backing fabric is bigger than your wadding, you know there's plenty. Okay, so what I would normally do, except I haven't got my 505 spray, this is just what I would do. I would put the patchwork onto the wadding, flip it over and pop the backing fabric. Then I would lift it back, spray my wadding, and then smooth the backing fabric down. I would then go to the other end, lift it up to where it'd been tacky, spray my wadding, and then smooth it from the middle. And I'd smooth my hands out like so, so that we don't get any bubbles or ridges in the middle. And I would also have done that exactly the same with this as well. So I've got that all smoothed down. I would lift it up, spray my wadding, and then smooth it down like so, so that is all. Now I can see my backing fabric. I need to move it down because I've got excess there. So let us take this off because I've shifted it down too much. So let's move that down. That way I've got excess at both ends. I've got backing fabric excess here, and I've got backing excess fabric there. Now because I haven't got any wadding, any spray rather, I'm just going to use some pins. Now these are quilting pins. So I'm just going to, and this is what you would do if you haven't got spray or you don't want to tack it, but you put a few quilting pins in. So the quilting pins, can you see they're curved, and it just helps them. So you should put these in quite a few, but I'm going to have to take them out if I put loads in. But it just means they curve upwards and are easy to hold. They are easy to take out afterwards, and they're easy to go in, and they just curve up automatically. Just put your finger there. So I think I'm just going to, as I say, normally you would have far more than that, but I'm only going to have to take them out. So first point of call is a little bit of quilting. So I am going to raise my stitch length to, I might even do it 4, 3.5 or 4. and I am going to stitch just to the side of, there we go, that's it, just to the side of my, that's it, now we'll go up a little bit more. So I'm just going to stitch to the side of the seam because it will give me a guideline without having to, there we are. I'm not starting in the corner because I'm going to go around the corner and come and meet it again. So I've got nice big quilting stitches. I should put my patchwork foot on, sorry, my walking foot, but what I'm doing instead, I'm just smoothing, can you see? I'm smoothing the fabric as I go, like so. Now, as I come down to this corner, I'm just going to go a little bit further. I think we'll do one more. A little bit further than that seam there. And then I'm going to pivot. Oh, that was exactly right. And all I'm doing, I'm keeping my foot, the edge of my foot as a guide along that seam line. So we need to come a little bit further along here. 1, 2. And then we'll pivot again. And we'll come down this side. Now this long edge, I'm just going to keep smoothing the fabric away from the seam because I want to have no ripples. There we go. And I don't want it to, because I haven't got the walking foot on, which would be my safety, I don't want it to give me puckers. Okay, so pivot again. So again, smoothing that out. And just a little bit further to, that's it. And then pivot round. And I'm coming down to meet that little bit of quilting. See if I can go, I can, in exactly the same stitches. Because I'm using a slightly darker colour thread, it's easier to see. Okay. So now that I can take these out, now that I've anchored that, I'll take my pins out, I'll put those there, and we'll take this pin out here. You see they're quite easy to take out, and this one here. Oops, undo it there. Okay, so the only other place which I could do is in here, but I'm just going to leave that as it is. So the first thing I'm going to do, or the last thing I'm going to do before we bind, I'm going to stitch all the way around. Can you see? I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch from the edge because I want to anchor all my layers together around the edge, because that way my binding will go on so much better. And so I'm going to the largest stitch length, and I'm going to, whoops, no, there we go. Okay, so it doesn't matter if I accidentally come off of here, but I'm doing it's basting stitch. So I'm just catching the edge of the fabric. I'm perhaps doing not even 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So that's it. Again, smoothing that fabric out because I don't want that to, oh look, you see it started to ripple a little bit there, but just push that out because the fabric can move. Right, and then down here. So just smooth that out. And we're going to make sure that it's all absolutely straight and perpendicular in a moment when we do a little bit of trimming, because I'm just using this technique to hold everything down in place so that it doesn't shift. Where are we? Oh, we started in the middle, that's right. So again, just smooth that out. So I'm just catching the edge of the strips that I used, the edging strips. Okay, so straight into there, and then round to the last little bit. And I can see that is a little bit wonky there, but we shall trim that off. So again, I'm just coming down to where we started, and that isn't bad. If it were puckering your work, when we met, you'd get a little pucker there. So can you see, there's the edge of my fabric, there's wadding, and we're going to trim that off. So, I have got a long ruler. So I'm going to get the cutting mat. I should really have had, I prefer to do this on a large cutting mat, because what we're going to do now is we're going to trim away that excess, and we're going to trim it straight so that we know. So I've got a long ruler, and this is what you would do. I'm going to lay that on to the fabric, and I'm looking at these lines just to see that they are, so it's not so easy with a short mat, but you really want a long mat. But I'm looking at the lines on my ruler with my seam lines so that I can see that is nice and straight. Now, it may be that the edge of your fabric actually comes out beyond the ruler or tucks in a little bit, so you've only got wadding showing. So let's just see. I'm just lining those up there. It needs to come over just a little bit more, just so that I'm perfectly straight. And then I'm going to cut all of this. That's it. So we'll just go down to there. Now I'm going to have to shift this. So I'm pulling that down, and then I'm moving my ruler up. I can move that away so that I can line up where I've already cut, and also just make sure that my lines are lining up with my stitching there. Now, if I show you what I've cut off, can you see there's a little bit of fabric here and the tiniest bit here, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, because what I have now is a perfectly straight edge. So going round to this short edge now, when I do this, I'm going to line up one of the markings on the ruler with the edge of my the edge that I've just cut, and I'm going to take it as far as I can to the edge of the fabric, of that border fabric, and then we'll just cut that away, and now I have a lovely straight edge there. If you cut stitching away, don't worry, because what we're going to have is just the perfect angled. So again, I'm lining one of my horizontals with that edge here, and I'm also looking, that looks really good, I'm looking at the lines going down here in line with my patchwork, and I can see, I need to move it over just a tiny bit more, because I don't want to cut any fabric if I don't have to. So there, we've got down there. Okay, so I've cut that much, and then I'm just going to pull this back here and carry on lining that up with where I've already cut, and I can see those lines. So I'm looking at these lines just here, and they're lining up with my patchwork. So I'm just going to carry on and cut that. So again, just the tiniest bits of fabric being cut away there, but that is bound to happen every now and again. So then the next bit is this top edge here. So I'm lining the edge with the edge that I've just cut, because I know that is perfectly straight, and we will line that up too and trim that away. So I've got backing fabric I've taken off, and we've now got a perfectly rectangular quilt. So next thing is our binding. How are we doing for time? Oh, not bad at all. So looking quite good. I'm sorry I'm not looking at any comments at the moment, but there is our quite long little runner, but it's quite cute. So the next thing we need to do is the binding, and that will finally be our final bit to do. So the binding is your widths of fabric, and we do need to join it. So here is how we join our widths of fabric for our binding. So watch carefully. So we have done this before, but we're going to put 2 strips, I think there's, yeah, it's 1.5 you need, right sides together and perpendicular, so they're at 90 degrees. Now if you want to put a pin in here, absolutely fine. And what we're going to do, we are going to, I overlap it, if you can see. So I've overlapped it. So there's an excess here and excess here, because we are going to stitch from that point in there. So where there's that little corner cut out, if you like, and this little one here, we're going to stitch from that point diagonally across there. Now, if you want to draw a line, you can, or you can just gauge that distance. So I'm going to make sure my needle falls exactly where those two come together. And then, oops, we don't want to have we want to go back to our 1.8 stitch length. So I'm just going to pull that out now, and I'm just looking at that, and I want it to come out exactly where, that's it. So the diagonal line goes exactly in that corner and comes out exactly there. Okay, so from this point, I just trim a bit there, trim a little bit here, so 1/4 inch, and that top bit off. And then we are going to press this open. So just like your ready-bought bias binding, wherever there's joins, that is always pressed open. So the next thing we need to do is get our pressing mat again, because we need to fold our strip in half and wrong sides together. And so I'll just press that seam first of all, and then we will start pressing this in half. So let's just take that back a little bit so that we can, I'll just press that a little bit, because we're going to fold it in half with wrong sides together, and I'm lining up those edges so they align perfectly, because you want this. I usually use, which I have here, a 2-inch wide strip of fabric for my bindings, and if you fold it in half exactly, it will measure 1 inch. So this is the boring bit, if you like. So I quite often stand up to do it so that I can see that I am lining that up perfectly. Right, so pull that here. We've only got a 1.5 widths of fabric to do. So this is better done on an ironing board because it's longer, and you can just whiz along on the ironing board, because as I say, you've got a longer, let's just pop this over here. You've got a longer area to be able to iron for longer, rather than keep pulling it up one piece after the other. Okay, so nearly there. I think we've got another 2. So that's it. Press along there. I've got my finger at one end where I'm just lining it up, and there we go. We are nearly there. So if you're using steam, be very careful, because you'll burn your fingers. So try not to use steam, because this is just a dry iron, and it's doing it pretty well. Okay, I'm using the wool pressing mat, but it does work well. So there we go. So now I have got my binding strip ready. So I've got my full length, and what we are going to do now. So what I like to do actually is I like to, how I always used to, let's start again. I would put my binding strip on the front, stitch by machine, and then fold the binding to the back and hand stitch in place. Absolutely fine. But I've taken of late, purely because of time, of stitching on the back. So like this, stitch on the back and then go over to the front, and then you can stitch by machine. So that is what I've done. These are the raw edges. So I'm putting the raw edge to, I'll put a pin in to start off with. Let's start here. Okay, so I put a pin in there. I've left an excess of 6, 8, 10 inches, something like that. And I'm going to start stitching here. So we'll go under the machine like so, and we are doing our 1/4 inch seam allowance, which we have there. And because I'm going through wadding and the layers, I'm going to go with a standard length of stitch of the 2.5, which is the default setting when you turn your machine on. So what we're going to do, we are going to start stitching 1/4 inch seam allowance like so, and when we get a 1/4 inch from the end, so roughly in line here, 1/4 inch, I am going to stitch to, so I'm just going to get my pen, make a little mark if you like at 1/4 inch there, and when we get to that point I am going to stop. So we'll stitch down to here, there we go. So I'm going to lift the presser foot, pivot and stitch out diagonally and cut. So you can see there I've stitched along here and then diagonally out to that corner. Then I can lift my strip and fold it out to my right so that it is totally in line with this next edge. So I put my finger down on the pleat, on that triangle, and then move it to the left, the rest of the binding to the left, flatten that down so that the fold is along this other edge, and then we will pivot, and I'm holding it, binding clip it, pin it, but then I'm going to start stitching from the edge, and I'm going to do exactly the same again. So again, if I want to make a little mark at 1/4 inch from the end here, so that I can just carry on stitching 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way along until we get to that mark. There it is. Lift your presser foot, pivot and stitch out diagonally. The reason for stitching out diagonally is that it holds the binding in exactly the right place. So again, pull out to the right, and you'll see that's a continuous line along there. Flip it over to your left and press that down. Keep your finger on that, and whoops, just put that, there we go. Press that down so it's on the fold. The fold is on the edge, and then whoops, start stitching again. So I'm lining up the edge of the binding with the edge of my little quilt, like so, and keep stitching. I'm going right down to this end too, so carry on stitching, and I haven't made my little mark yet, but I'm going to gauge my 1/4 inch this time. So lift the presser foot and stitch out to the diagonal. So then again, lift it, form that triangle there, finger down, move it to the left, and finger on it, swivel round and onto that fold again and start stitching. So line those raw edges and stitch across till we get to 1/4 inch. There we go, from the end. Whoops, no, one more. I can see it's not far enough. One more, that's it. And then into the diagonal, into that corner, and pull that out again to the right, flatten it down, and then over to the left. Press your finger down on the fold and start stitching right from the edge. Don't start 1/4 inch in. Now what I'm looking at here is I've got a long piece left here, and I've got a long piece here. Now The longer the gap you leave here, the easier my technique is. In the instructions, I've got the easiest way of joining your binding, but this is just another way. So I'm going to leave probably 12 inches here. I'm just going to stitch on the spot so it doesn't come undone. And then I'm going to cut my thread because I want to join this with a diagonal fold. So here, we have this here. So, here we go. What we need to do, we've got these strips here and we want to join it. So, I've got a longer bit here. What I'm going to do, it's about halfway. I'm going to want to leave a long bit here. So, I'm going to fold it. So, I'm lining the binding up with the edge. That's it about there. Okay. Fold that back. And then the same here. Fold that back. So what we've got is two folded pieces meeting. Can you see two folded pieces meeting there? So I am going to, let's see, yes. I am going to, with one edge, I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut on the fold. Okay. So now I've got a raw edge and I've got a fold on the other one. So just smooth that out nicely. You don't want any ripples there, you just want that nicely smoothed. And then where this folded piece, you want to have the fold just about touching, not overlapping. You just want it to butt up to that raw edge, which we've got there. So we need to know how long have we got to leave on here, how much are we going to cut. So with the bit we trimmed off, here, I'm going to open that up. And this is the width of our binding. So whatever size binding you do, as long as you open up the width that you've cut off, you will cut the right amount. So now I'm going to place this on the one with the fold, so not the raw edge one, the one here with the fold, and I'm going to line that up with my fold. Flatten that out, and then I'm going to cut here. I'm going to cut at the edge of that piece that I've just opened out. So I'm going to cut it exactly, left a little bit extra. If you leave too much on, you don't get a good join. So you can see when I take this off, that piece is the extra that we've left on there. Okay, so that is extra fabric that is going to join to make this fit perfectly. So now this is the clever bit. So I'm going to lift both of those edges up. Can you see that? And then with each finger, I'm going to open it. So have it facing you like, whoops, what are we doing here? Yeah, we are going to open it up. Do you know, it's always when I come to demonstrate that I forget. Right, open it up, like so. And then we're going to put it right sides together. So it's like that, twist and right sides together. It's flat down like that, lift it up, twist right sides together so that the edges match. Okay, so we want that corner, and I do put a pin in here to start off with, that and there. So you've got the short edge lining up with a long edge. Okay, let's just get that long edge there. And I'm going to put the pin along there because I just want to hold that together. Now, it's a little bit difficult here, so, to work. So what I'm going to do is fold the quilt itself out of the way a bit. Let's have a look. So I fold it like out of the way, so that I've got my piece here. I'll even put a pin in that so that it stays out of the way, because I want to work on this bit here. So I've got my pins in, and I'm just going to flatten that down, flatten that together, and you can see now how you can put another pin if you like, because we want this to be sat together perfectly. Okay, so you've got your piece like that, and then we're going to stitch, and this is where you can put your pin to know where you're going to stitch. So you're going to stitch from that top corner to this bottom edge here, to where this meets here. So where I've put my diagonal pin, there. That is where you are going to stitch across there. So I'm going to start right at this very tip here and stitch all the way down to that corner. So this is where I can now, you want that excess fabric there so that it's easy. You want this lying flat, otherwise it's really quite difficult to do. So I'm going right into that corner, and as soon as I start stitching I can take this pin out. So if you want to draw a line, you can. I'm also going to take that one out because I've got this all lined up here, and I'll take this diagonal pin out in a minute, and then we're going to stitch. So let's take that diagonal pin out right to that corner where the corner is there. So I'm eyeball it, or that's it. So I've stitched there, probably done a better, so I've stitched right across that diagonal, and here you can see on the back it's gone that diagonal to that one. So again, now before, I'm going to take my pin out of my quilt. Before I cut that piece off, I'm going to check that it is going the right way. So we are going to cut off this piece here, but just let it go down, and that is stitched together the right way. So now you can't see that stitching, but I'm going to trim away to 1/4 inch. Okay, and then I have my diagonal seam, and I'm going to open that out and finger press. Now it is good to actually give that a press, and as I've got wadding on here, I'm going to press that on top of my quilt because I think that will, so let's just press down there, that's better. And then if you want to press that edge again, because we've opened it up, but that has pressed it up, so we've got a nice flat edge. Then all we need to do, you see that fits that perfectly. We start again from where we stopped stitching, and we're going to carry on stitching down the rest of the binding. So I'm just pulling that fairly taut because I don't want it to, oh, I went off a little bit there, I felt it. Let me just go back again here. Yeah, I went in a bit. So I want that to remain absolutely flush, and then just hold that down, and that should join where we started. Okay, so I've got the tiniest little pucker there, but you can see now that fits perfectly. So the next little thing that I always do, is I like to press the binding back. So we'll get our, and this, by doing that, it just, I'll trim these little bits of thread off as well, all on there. So with your iron, I want to press the binding away from the quilt, okay, into that corner there, and press that out, and then flip that around, press it out. It just makes it easier when you're finishing it off. So press that out. It means you don't have to keep pulling at the binding for when you're, even if I'm going to hand sew it, I still like to push that binding out, press the binding outwards. So, last legs. What time are we? Oh, 2 minutes past 8. Okay, flip it to the right side. Turn the corner in. And turn the corner in. Okay. Oh, look at all those bits of thread there. That's it. I would trim these off because they do get in the way. That's it. We'll turn a little bit off there. Just those tiny bits. But you have to... Right, so never start at a corner. Always start down a bit. So we are now just going to pull the binding over. Let's see if we can go in a little bit further. That's it. Pull it a little bit. We don't want those threads there because they will. So we're going to pull the binding over so that it just hides where our stitching was. There we are. So, okay, so we'll get the foot over here. Now to get a nice, you see that part of my foot here? You might have a bit on there. I'm lining that up with this inner edge of my binding. And I shall move the needle right over to, let's say 0.5. No, we'll do it to 1. So that I get a nice, hopefully, straight line attaching my binding. So I'm just going to, these little bits of thread do get in the way. Okay, so we're also, yeah, we'll do a 2.5. So let's 2.5 stitch length, just a standard stitch length. And as I'm going, you could, if you wanted to, put binding clips all the way along, but I am just pulling that over as I go and holding it down. So again, just pull that over, and as long as it is covering your stitching, so I'm coming down here, covering the stitching from when you stitch the binding on. There we go. We should be absolutely fine. So there's a bit of thread. Okay, so we're coming down here. Now, as I get towards the bottom, I'm going to pull this binding over. And what I then like to do, I put the tool in to form that triangle and pull it up like so. So I've pulled my binding. Whoops, there's the binding. Now I'm making sure that mitre is there, and then I use the edge. I press my tool, my seam ripper, into it to hold it down, and as soon as I've stitched into the binding, you see it's holding it. So now I can swivel around and hopefully come straight out of there. Just give it a little push to help. That's it. And then we'll stitch along the top. Nice short seam here. Trim these threads as you go. That's it. So it's a short seam, so I'm just going to pull that up. Oh, see, we've got a join there, but it doesn't matter. And then again, pull the binding over, but put my seam ripper down so that I can then pull up my mitre and the start of the other side. Get myself a decent mitre there. No, I haven't got a decent mitre. It's hard to, but you'll be able to see where the mitre joins. That's better. And then press your seam ripper down into it. Whoops, let it go there. That's it. Press your seam ripper down into where that mitre is, so that, there we are, and we're into, so that it holds it in place, and then you can pivot round and just carry on stitching down the side. So we are getting there, ladies. So we'll carry on stitching down here. Nice long seam. As I say, if you want to pop your binding clips on, but I find pressing my fingers down to hold it in place and quite close to where I'm stitching, it just helps to give a smoother straight line of stitching on my binding. So again, just pull that over, and you can see when you've got a nice even binding. So I've come to that corner again, pull that binding over, put the seam ripper down into that corner, all those little threads, and pull up for your mitre. So that's okay, just there. And then I'm going to press the end of my seam ripper into there. Just make sure that's it. Make sure you don't hit your seam ripper with your needle. And then just carry on stitching along the next edge. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but I did want to show you the whole process, because I know there's so many new ladies that have not done any patchwork at all, and very rarely do you get to see all the tips of finishing off your quilt. So there you see, I've done that again. I've folded that down, and my fingers will be in the way here, I'm afraid. And I've gone a little bit too far, but I can just about get my seam ripper in there, just to hold that down. And one more, that's it, I think I'm in there. And pivot around again, and then start stitching out. There we go. So I'm on the last little bit, so we'll just pull that over and carry on stitching, and then just pull that over there. I did say I was going to change my needle, and I haven't, so you can hear that banging away. And then when I get to where I started, just pull that thread out of the way and see if I can go in those first few stitches, and I have, so that you can not see where I started or finished stitching. So we'll trim that thread off and trim that one off too. So you may see a little bit of stitching on the back, but it isn't too bad at all. So let's have a look. There we go. Oh, we're back. We are back. Right. You picked so many. Good, good, good. I am so pleased. So here it is. So I think that's rather nice. Thank you, Jane. Easy to follow. Yeah. Must remember the quarter inch. The quarter of an inch, yeah, that means everything, doesn't it? Now you see what mine is. Can you see here? Look at my stems. Whoops, my stems don't go one under the other. How bad is that? But anyhow, I can see it there. Apart from that, oh, jolly good. Thank you, thank you. So we're only about 8:10, but, you know, if you have got the pattern, you can see the one behind me. If you want to make the whole thing, or just make with two. Nice little runner. You could put a plant. I'd put a plant pot in the middle so you don't see that bit there. That's really naughty, but never mind. Oh, good. I'm glad you learnt so much. Now, that's what I said. I did want to be able to. We've done minimal quilting, but I wanted to show you the full process. Hence the doing, you know, just two to make it into something. So you have learned how to put the block together. You've learned how to layer up your quilt, so whatever size, with all the tips. I would do all of those things, whether I'm doing a huge quilt or, you know, just a small one or an in-between one. So if you've got those in mind, whenever you come to making something bigger, you will still be able to do it. Good, I'm glad you've had loads of tips. So the back, as you see, is just, now can you see all those little puckers along there? That's because I didn't use a walking foot. Not as bad as it could have been, but a walking foot would be better. Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Gidget Marie. But yeah, nice little, I could pop that up there, couldn't I? Just something a little bit different. Yep. Let's pop that, put a little one in the middle. So you've got the technique. Good, Janet. Oh, thank you, Angela. That is so kind of you. I'm just talking away, aren't I? I'm sorry. When I'm not looking at comments, I will go back through when I'm eating my dinner shortly, and I'll answer any questions that you may have had. But I do hope you've enjoyed tonight. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I love sewing, and as you know, I love sewing, and I don't get that much time apart from when I'm doing it with you. So you've got two walking feet. Do you think I can find either? Oh, Catherine, at least you've got walking feet. Martin hasn't got walking feet. Oh, you're welcome, Jenny. The masterclass, was it, with lots of tips. I should have called it a masterclass, shouldn't I? Lots of people do, you know, so never mind. Yes, so I am Sewing Club tomorrow with the workshop. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you, Patricia. Thursday I shan't be here, but Lindsay is kindly popping up the easy way to do bunting for you to do, because I suppose you'll be needing to make some. Would be a great Easter gift, wouldn't it, Amanda? Yes. Thank you, Gita. But I will be here Friday, 6:30, with the fabric bundle giveaway. I've yet to select, but I have got so much fabric that some is coming your way. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy tomorrow and Thursday, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye for now.